Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, folks, and welcome back to #AskGSM here today, episode 369 for December 23rd, 2020. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop your question on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. I'm on a tight schedule today, so we got to get right into it with the questions, starting with No Laura from YouTube. Their first question was, top 5 wrestlers that have the potential to be a future world champion one day. That's a good question. I'm thinking both WWE and AEW. That's what my list consists of. I put down MJF. I think he's a world champion waiting to happen. September's all-out pay-per-view might have been a bit too soon, but I think within another year, maybe even less than that, or a little more, MJF absolutely fits the bill. I wrote down Darby Allin as well, which is true. That's another one. I was thinking of another name. I put down Angel Garza. I think Garza could be a future world champion. Potential to be a future world champion? Sure. Will he be a future world champion? That's hard to say. He hasn't really been booked as if he'll be a future world champion, but he has the potential to. But I'll probably replace Angel Garza with another obvious choice, Hangman Adam Page. The guy is just waiting to become the next AEW world champion and beating Kenny Omega for that title at some point down the road. So Adam Page, Darby Allin is a great babyface. I think he could be a future world champion. He's a great, fit for the TNT title right now, but I think at some point he could be a great world champion as well. From WWE, I've got another 2 names. I said Angel Garza earlier, and this would be 6 names if I'm including both Hangman and Garza. But also from WWE, Keith Lee, I think can be a future world champion. He's great. He hasn't been booked the best on the main roster. He hasn't failed by any means, but he could mean more than he does right now. But I do think he can be a future world champion if booked properly. And Big E. I mean, this is, again, not a bold claim by any means, but I think Big E can be a future world champion if they book him properly, say he wins the Royal Rumble. So we get into right to the next question here. That kind of ties into the next question about Royal Rumble wins and stuff like that. If Big E were to win the Royal Rumble, I think he could go on to WrestleMania to beat Roman Reigns for the title. Maybe not even there. Maybe they wait until SummerSlam. They continue that chase. I could absolutely see that happening, but Keith Lee and Big E are my top 2 choices to win the men's Royal Rumble match this coming January. Keith Lee's been involved in the WWE Championship mix, so that tells me they at least see him close to being at that level, and I think he deserves to be at that level. And also the rumored WrestleMania card, that being McIntyre, Lesnar, and Lee, which isn't the most amazing match on paper. I mean, I don't need to see Lesnar back in the WWE title mix come WrestleMania. And Brock's another guy, he's a guy that's not even under contract to the company right now. So why would you be mapping out WrestleMania plans for a guy that isn't even technically there? Officially, he's not under contract, as far as we know. But anyway, the fact that Keith Lee was mentioned in that conversation for the WWE title match at WrestleMania tells me a lot. So I think Keith Lee is a potential winner of the Rumble. That was their next question, by the way. I forgot to read it off, but No Laura's second question was, who do you think deserves to win both the men's and women's 2021 Royal Rumble matches? So for the men, Keith Lee and Big E. Again, not really straying from my previous picks of people who could be future world champions. But yeah, Big E from SmackDown, Keith Lee from Raw. Maybe there's another person I'm not thinking of. Maybe Edge wins the Rumble. He returns, wins it again. He returned in it last year. I mean, I guess he could return in it again. That's possible. To kind of kick off his WrestleMania storyline with Orton, and then Orton gets the belt back before Mania. I do not want to see that at all, so I really hope that's not the direction they're going in. But, yeah, so Big E is who I would have win from SmackDown. If it's someone from Raw, I would have it be Keith Lee. Again, there's probably someone I'm not thinking of at the moment, but those are the 2 people, to me, that make the most sense. I don't want to see someone come back and win it for a second time, that being like a fucking John Cena or Roman Reigns. I mean, Roman Reigns is already the Universal Champion, so we know that's not going to happen. Or like an Edge or an Orton, no thanks. No thanks. And I like Edge, but I don't think he needs to win the Rumble, nor should he win the Rumble. Keith Lee and Big E are better fits for that spot. For the women, Bianca Belair. That's like the only woman that comes to mind aside from Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley winning, going on to WrestleMania to face Asuka for that Raw Women's Championship. Hey, maybe it's, Alexis pitched this to me the other day when we were watching Raw. What if it's Asuka, Charlotte Flair, and Rhea Ripley? Rhea Ripley never got that win over Charlotte Flair. She and Asuka have never faced off before, and Charlotte, you can just kind of tell, is, kind of lobbying for a shot at that Raw Women's Championship. She kind of did Asuka a favor by teaming with her at TLC, helping her win the tag team titles, and now she wants a favor in return and getting a crack at Asuka's Raw Women's Championship. That's where I see this going. But yeah, Rhea Ripley would be a great idea. And, Charlotte won the Rumble last year. Maybe she tosses out Flair. She tosses out Charlotte to win the Rumble this year, does Ripley. So I think that would be a good idea. But if not her, Bianca Belair makes the most sense. Bianca doesn't have to win the Rumble, but I think it would be cool. She made her Rumble debut, I think it was it this year or last year? I think it was this past year, where she did, she had a really, really great performance. She tossed out a lot of people, and she looked great. So coming back this year to win it all, and then going out to face Sasha Banks at WrestleMania, I think would be very cool. Emmanuel A. from YouTube, his question was, he's got two actually, his first one being, I used to watch a lot of the old content on WWE Network, and when I tried to go to my account history and figure out the last WCW Nitro I watched, or the last SmackDown in 03 and 04 I was watching, or the NXT 2018 episodes I missed, it hit me just how much wrestling I was trying to consume years ago. Have you ever gotten involved in a franchise or a genre to the point that you start researching all of its history and try to experience every piece of content it produced? Have you ever burned yourself out on that? I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us do that, where if you find a new show or a new something you like, I mean, at least I do anywhere, where I like to research it, find out everything that I can about it. Wrestling was one of those things, probably the biggest thing, and obviously I still stuck with it, but really any TV show, that goes for Marvel, that goes for Star Wars, at least as far as, I'm concerned. Burned out on it, I don't know if I've ever burned myself out on anything. It's really, if the show isn't as great, then I won't continue to watch it. For example, Alexis and I were watching the 13 Reasons Why show. This is completely different than fucking wrestling, but that show on Netflix that debuted a couple of years ago, it had its fourth season, I think just this past year. We watched everything up until like the middle of the fourth season, but the season was so bad, and we just didn't give a shit about it. We just stopped watching a couple of months ago, and we never finished it, and hopefully at some point we can, but while we were watching that show, I became so just enamored with it, at least the early seasons, that I did all the research and looked up theories and, videos and breakdowns and stuff like that. So I do that with a lot of stuff that I watch, specifically wrestling, but burn myself out on it, I don't know if that's a good term to use, at least as far as I'm concerned anyway, as it applies to me. Emmanuel's second question here. I watched the Liv Morgan Live Forever documentary a few weeks ago. Not bad from a technical standpoint, but it really highlights how clumsy WWE's creative process is. What was the point of creating it? Morgan's backstory is interesting, but WWE just uploaded a documentary about how they broke up the Riot Squad to force her to be on her own, and the most notable thing that they came up with during that 15 months was her being a single star and that she was involved in an ill-defined lesbian angle. Yeah, so the Liv Morgan documentary I thought was good. The only reason they released that, I think they established it either in the beginning of the documentary or she said it elsewhere in interviews leading up to its release, that the whole point behind that documentary was that they were documenting her move to SmackDown after the 2019 Superstar shakeup. And they were probably going to put together a very short video on the YouTube channel or on the network or whatever after she debuted. Because she was supposed to debut soon after being moved to SmackDown, probably to get a push right out of the gate. And I assume they were going to do like a day of type of thing or a mini documentary on her kind of breaking out on her own. But the longer that process went on and the longer that she didn't debut on SmackDown, they kind of turned it into a whole documentary following her for over a year. So it wasn't like they had this grand plan of like, oh man, let's document her journey to SmackDown, and then in the end she'll get this great push. That was the idea early on. The WWE documentary series team, whatever, I guess they came up with the idea of, following her around to do a documentary on her SmackDown debut. She would get a big push, and that would be like the mini documentary. It ended up lasting, as opposed to like a few weeks, over 15 months, as you said, because really nothing came out of it. And they probably reached the point where it's like, all right, the end goal here, the end game of this entire series is probably going to be the Riot Squad getting back together. They didn't realize that when they first started doing it over a year and a half ago. But it's not like she's going to end up in the Raw or SmackDown Women's Championship picture anytime soon. They haven't won the tag titles. So it's like, we might as well just cut this off now as opposed to filming her for the next year, you know? Because she's had a pretty crazy journey, and that's why I enjoyed the documentary, because she went from being with the Riot... I mean, obviously they documented her, you know, background too, like you said, her upbringing in the business, getting signed to NXT, a lot of stuff I did not know, which I thought was cool. But the meat of the documentary is her breaking away from the Riot Squad, doing nothing for 8 months, having to try to get on TV, reinvent herself, getting put in the lesbian angle, which she clearly was not enamored with initially, in terms of the direction that it was taking. And then that went nowhere. She was at WrestleMania. They reunited the Riot Squad without Sarah Logan, and that was kind of it. So that was why they released it. It's not like you follow someone for a freaking year, you're not going to just keep the footage. I mean, I guess they do that with some stuff. I guess we'll never know. Like the Sting Lost tape. They documented that. That was like, 25 years ago? Maybe even more than that, 30 years ago. And they finally released it this year. I mean, that was different, though. I mean, that was just filmed over the course of one day. They just never really found a way to release that all those years ago. The Liv Morgan thing, there was, again, never a grand plan. And some of these documentaries do have a cool ending. Like, oh, it ended up with them winning the championship. Coincidentally, that was never the plan from when they started filming. And like Keith Lee, the whole point of the 24, I assume, was to get people familiar with him now that he's on Raw. It's not like he's on Raw now as the WWE champion. You know, so... Like the McIntyre one culminated with him winning the WWE championship. That's why they did that one. The Morgan one was just completely random. It was like a mini 24 of sorts. I enjoyed it. Not must see, but I enjoyed it. But yeah, that was kind of the reason why they did it, I assume. Brandon A. from YouTube. He says, Merry Christmas, GSM. I told you I was going to give you a Christmas card this year, so here it is. The Christmas card. Who goes over in each of these Yuletide WrestleMania-esque matchups? I had no idea what you meant a week or two ago when you mentioned the Christmas card, list of matches you were going to do, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I figured you were just making something up. What Brandon did instead was put together a list of, 8-9 matches here of Christmas icons from various Christmas movies, Christmas folklore, stuff like that, against each other for one giant Christmas wrestling match card, which I think is really fucking cool. So if I'm going to break this thing down, offer my picks, preview, and predictions, we might as well get into it. So the first match that he has listed, George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life, of course, versus Clark Griswold, of course, from Christmas Vacation, for the Christmas United States Championship. I've never seen the movie start to finish, and people are going to hate me for that. That being It's a Wonderful Life. I got to do that one of these days, but I have no attachment to that movie whatsoever. Clark Griswold, I love Christmas Vacation. He's clearly very handy. He has a lot of Christmas spirit that goes wrong. Gets very frustrated by the end of Christmas Vacation without giving too much away if you haven't seen the movie, especially with that epic pipe bomb-esque rant, kind of very similar to a Stone Cold Steve Austin or a CM Punk promo, towards the end of the movie. I feel like if you get that Clark Griswold versus George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life, it's a no contest. Griswold will win every single time. He's going to take that frustration, win the match by any means necessary, and become the Christmas United States champion. The second match on the card, Krampus and the Gremlins versus the Christmas Kids. Billy from Gremlins, Kevin McAllister, Ralphie Parker, Cindy Lou Who, Charlie Brown, and other major kids in Christmas movies or specials. Man, that's a good one. Kevin McAllister is the game changer. I really don't give a shit about Gremlins or Ralphie Parker or even Cindy Lou, who's like easily the worst character from The Grinch. But Kevin McAllister is the game changer there. He's the real difference maker, just because obviously he's very crafty. He was able to beat the Wet Bandits on his own in both Home Alone 1 and 2. So I don't know. The Gremlins, I don't know. Krampus just cannot be beat. If you watch the movie, the guy is practically undefeated. He doesn't go down as easily as everyone else. Krampus is no wet bandits. So I gotta go Krampus. And the Gremlins, if it was the Christmas Kids versus just the Gremlins, I would probably say the Christmas Kids. But you throw Krampus in there, the guy is very menacing. Probably the most menacing Christmas figure out of everyone that you mentioned. Very crafty and very, he takes no bullshit. It doesn't matter who you are. He will take babies, he will take old people, or kids in this case. So I got to go with Krampus and Gremlins going over in this contest. Match number 3, a Miracle on 34th Street fight mall brawl between the Macy's Santa and Bad Santa. I mean, Bad Santa, obviously, the Macy's Santa, what the hell does he have? What the hell does he have over Bad Santa? I was reading your card and I was thinking the only change that I would make, Macy's Santa, I mean, it's a no contest, who cares? Bad Santa wins. But if you put Goldberg's Santa's Sleigh character in there, the character that he played in Santa's Sleigh, that is more of an even matchup. That I would go with Goldberg. But here, it's clearly Bad Santa. Number 4, Jovi from Elf versus Noelle, Christmas Women's Championship. Man, I mean, does it really matter either way? I'm not really overly familiar with Noelle or Jovi from Elf. Is that like the main love interest of Buddy the Elf? And I don't remember. I saw the movie, like part of it, a couple weeks ago. I've seen the movie in full a million times, but is that her name, Jovi? I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure that's who you're talking about. But yeah, I'll go Jovi from Elf just because I'm more familiar with her than Noelle. Number 5, drunken unsanctioned match. Howard and Myron, who are Arnold Schwarzenegger's character in Sinbad from Jingle All the Way, against Marv and Harry from Home Alone. That's a great matchup. That is very, very good. Howard and Myron really get together very, very well at the end there, because obviously they're heated rivals for a while. They're the unlikely tag team partners who come together for a common cause. Nothing will stop them from reaching their goal of getting that Turbo Man toy by the end of the movie. And at the end, they have a mutual respect for each other, even if it means using actual bombs. So, I mean, they're pretty ruthless. But the problem between, if they're taking on a cohesive unit in Harv and Mary from Home Alone, you gotta go with Harv and Mary. Yeah, they were toppled by Kevin McAllister, but up to that point, those guys were the best in the business when it came to being bandits and, stealing stuff from houses and whatever else. So I gotta go with Harv and Mary just because, is it Marvin Harry, not Harv and Mary. That's stupid. Marvin Harry, my apologies. I gotta go with Marvin Harry just because they're more of a cohesive unit. They have that chemistry. They're always on the same page. I mean, Marv is kind of beating the shit. I mean, they don't get along at certain points when things don't go their way, and that's when they'll crumble. As opposed to Howard and Myron, though. I mean, when compared to them, they might as well just be, friggin' the Young Bucks. I mean, Howard and Myron, they're not on the same page, at least up until the very end. They're an effective duo together, but they clearly hate each other from the get-go, which is going to be their undoing from the very beginning. So I got to go with Marvin Harry here from Home Alone. Number 6, you put the Batman characters here, because it's a very popular argument that Batman is a Christmas movie. It's fucking not. I don't think of Batman, the Batman Begins, because it takes place around Christmas and being a Christmas movie. Die Hard takes place at a friggin', Christmas party, and you included the Die Hard characters here, so you've gone on record before and saying it's not a Christmas movie, although they are on this card, so I digress. The matchup was Batman versus Catwoman versus the Penguin in a triple threat for the Christmas Intercontinental Championship. Interesting. If it was Batman and Penguin straight up, or Batman and Catwoman straight up, Batman wins clean every single time. The Roman Reigns of this matchup. But because it's a triple threat, and the Penguin is very manipulative and smart and just opportunistic, I gotta go with the Penguin. I feel like he might sneak one out here by pinning Catwoman when Batman's, thrown out of the ring. So I'm going to go with the Penguin on that one. I'm going to go with an odd choice. Batman is obviously the clear-cut winner almost every single time, and he would probably win here too. But I feel like there's a pretty good chance the Penguin could sneak out the victory with a win over Catwoman, maybe via a roll-up, even though I hate roll-ups. Number 7, Scott Calvin from The Santa Claus and Buddy the Elf versus Ebenezer Scrooge and the Grinch for the Christmas Tag Team Championship. Man, that's a good one. This is one of the better ones in the card. This could really go either way. With Scott Calvin, I mean, who are we talking about here? You said Scott Calvin. You didn't say the Santa Claus. You didn't say Santa Claus from the Santa Claus. They don't call him Scott anymore. He's Santa by the end of the Santa Claus. If we're talking Scott Calvin in his human form from early on in the Santa Claus, when he doesn't want to be Santa, and he's kind of like in denial mode about that, then I gotta go with the heels. And the Grinch is widely considered, it's in the song itself, you really are a heel. I mean, you can't go against that. I love Scrooge in every adaptation that there is of him in movies and books and whatever, but the Grinch is the greatest, even over Krampus, the greatest Christmas heel of all time. And of course, he makes a big face turn at the end of his movie, but we're talking early Grinch here. We're not talking babyface Grinch. We're talking hated heel, a lot of heat Grinch here. Okay? Stealing all the presents, stealing Christmas. You throw Scrooge in there, who doesn't give a fuck about anyone, and will cut a great promo on these people if he has to. Buddy the Elf would be just swallowed whole. He might be good at making toys and has a lot of holiday spirit. He's the ultimate babyface. Has that big babyface comeback. But Scott Calvin in human form, it's just no match. Scrooge is great. The Grinch is better. Scott Calvin on his own, without being Santa Claus. You didn't mention that he was Santa Claus. You just said Scott Calvin. So I'm thinking Tim Allen in his human form. Him and Buddy the Elf, it's just a no contest. Gotta go with Scrooge and the Grinch as the new Christmas Tag Team Champions. Number 8, which I think is the main event here, John McClane versus Hans Gruber, both obviously from Die Hard, in a ladder match for the Christmas World Heavyweight Championship. Spoiler alert, the movie came out a long time ago, so it's really not much of a spoiler, but John McClane goes over in the end, in Die Hard. So, I want to say that he'll win here, and he'll go over, he'll win this match with ease, but Hans Gruber is also one of the greatest movie villains of all time. He's a great movie villain, Christmas movie or not, he's a great villain. So, it's hard to count him out. I don't want to say John McClane just because we've seen him beat Gruber before. Gruber could get the win back. He could avenge that loss here by taking out John McClane, climbing that ladder, and winning the title. And he did have the upper hand for most of Die Hard early on before the final finishing sequence, when Gruber pulled out the victory. But the reason I'm going to go with Gruber here is because it's a ladder match. And McClane, on at least one occasion, maybe multiple, makes it to the top of the building. Not the skyscraper, whatever that tall building is, the building that McClane has to get into to get to Gruber and save his ex-wife or whatever. He gets to the top of that building, which tells me that he could get to the top of the ladder and win that championship. So I'm going to go John McClane, new Christmas World Heavyweight Champion. And then he also threw this in on the pre-show, Christmas Battle Royal featuring Rudolph, Frosty, Jack Skellington, Cousin Eddie, Snoopy, the conductor from the Polar Express, Ernest, etc. I'm not going to list off a ton of names, but who else do you want to be in this match, and who wins? Who else would be in the match? Let me see. I have a whole list of Christmas movies that I enjoy. Maybe Mick Foley is Santa Claus. I don't know if you want to throw him in there, but, why the hell not? Let's see. Maybe, Little Timmy. Little Timmy, is that what his name is? From the Christmas Carol. You can throw him in there. Klaus, you could put in there. You put in Jack Skellington. Kevin McAllister, you said earlier. Who else is from the Santa Claus? I just watched that movie the other day. Maybe his son. I forgot what his son's name is, but maybe you put the son in there. I like Martin Short's Jack Frost. I'm not sure if that's who you meant, but just Jack Frost in general. How can you have a Christmas Battle Royal and then not put, what are their fucking names? The guys from The Year Without a Santa Claus, isn't that what it is? Or Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Mr. Fahrenheit 101 or whatever, and the Frozen guy. Those two guys, the brothers. How can you not put those guys in there? And I think they win. I think they come out on top. And I don't know if you're talking about only one winner, then it would probably be the Heat Miser. The Heat Miser and, what is the other guy's name? Fucking Frozone? I forget. But you could put Grandma in there without getting run over by a reindeer. I would put her in there as well. But yeah, I'll put the Heat Miser over. I'll put him in the Battle Royal, and he goes over in the end. And he also says, what's the match of the night, moment of the night, any stakes in the Battle Royal, unlike WWE? Your choice. That's a good question. Match of the night, the main event looks great. The top 3 matches that look great are the main event, the tag team title match with Scott Calvin, Buddy the Elf, Ebenezer Scrooge, and the Grinch. And then, what was the other one that you mentioned? Howard and Myron versus Marvin Harry. All 3 of those would be great. I gotta go for the tag team titles, though. I think the tag team title match would be great. Scrooge and Grinch versus Elf and... actually, no. I'm going to go with Marvin Harry versus Myron and Howard. I feel like that's a very interesting matchup. So I'm going to go with that as the match of the night. Moment of the night, who the hell knows? Any stakes in the Battle Royal? They get any gift they want, I guess. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what those stakes would be. There has to be stakes of some sort. Maybe they can get the first gift in the grab bag. Maybe that's what it is, as opposed to just having it be random. Whoever wins that match, the Christmas grab bag, they get the first choice. They get first dibs, so we'll say that. And then he ends with, again, Merry Christmas, and I hope that you find this as fun as opposed to annoying. I thought it would be something different. Peace. I definitely did. I love this very much. You obviously put a lot of thought into this, and it helps that I'm almost aware of everyone involved in these matches. So I thought this was great. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well as much as we did. At noob_n_co 1991, his first question was, what are 5 things that you want to happen in 2021? I mean, obviously, aside from the COVID going away and getting fans back in the building, I guess, you know what, let's put that as number 1 here. Getting fans back into the buildings safely. I don't want to rush it, and maybe later on in 2021, but getting fans back into these buildings. I know AEW has already started the process, but specifically with WWE. We need fans at some point. I just want COVID to go the fuck away. So that's my number 1. 2, getting Samoa Joe back in the ring. Gotta get Samoa Joe back in the ring. The guy's been on commentary for the better part of 2020. I miss him in the ring. Is it necessary? No, but I feel like he's wasting whatever years he has left in the ring on commentary. So get that guy back in the ring. King Corbin, drop the dumb King Corbin bullshit. Have him go back to being Baron Corbin. The Knights of the Lone Wolf thing, that's cool and all, but the whole King Corbin shit has got to go. It's so fucking bad. Get rid of the 24/7 championship, dude. It's so pointless. I hate the 24/7 title at this point. It's easily the worst part of Raw, and that's saying a lot because there's a lot of bad stuff on Raw. Just get that the fuck out of here. And then for my 5th thing, there's a couple different things that I can think of, but bring back Queen of the Ring. I know that was rumored at one point for 2020, and then maybe due to the pandemic, they didn't do it. But we haven't had a Mae Young Classic in a while. We haven't had Evolution in over 2 years, so one of those 3 things, if not all 3. Bring in a Queen of the Ring tournament, do Evolution 2, or bring back the Mae Young Classic would be my number 5 for things that I want in 2021. His second question, what was your reaction to Randy Orton setting the Fiend on fire at TLC this past Sunday? I was like, holy shit, it is WWE. It is the Fiend. And honestly, I'm going to say this. I know John Ritlin asked a question about this, and I'll get to this later. I did not mind this as much as some people did. It was a very polarizing ending. I think people thought it was cool, and then other people thought it was just insanely dumb. And I completely understand both ways. I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. And yeah, WWE does a lot of dumb things. But with something like this, it's the fucking Fiend. That's the nature of the character. I would be a hypocrite if I said, I loved it in Lucha Underground, but it doesn't work as well in WWE. That is true to an extent. WWE is a different atmosphere than Lucha Underground. And maybe you guys hated it there too, but for The Fiend, I'm okay with it. They've done a lot worse with The Fiend. Having Bray Wyatt almost dress up in just I don't know, what was the Abigail gear or whatever? He was going to dress up his sister Abigail at TLC. That would have been bad. That is a lot worse than having The Fiend get set on fire. So, I thought it was fine. I thought it was cool. The Fiend will be back. It's like, oh, how could he come back if he died? It's the fucking Fiend. Come on, man. We've seen way worse things with Bray Wyatt before that don't make sense. That's the nature of the character. They've done this a million fucking times with The Undertaker. If they could do it with him, they could do it with Bray Wyatt. I know it's a different time, but it's a similar character. I don't hate it. If you hate it, that's fine. But I really didn't mind it. I thought it was a cool ending to the show. And I was wondering why they would close the show with the Inferno match initially. I'm thinking, why would they do that? That makes no sense. But now it became clear. It became clear after the show. It's like, oh, okay, you don't want to kill someone off literally in the middle of the show and then just go do a TLC match in the main event. That would be weird. So I thought the way that they closed the show was very interesting, and it made me look forward to see what was going to happen next. And we got Orton and Bliss on Raw the next night. We got the return of Alexa Bliss. I'm liking the Orton Fiend stuff. The match was better than I thought it would be. The feud has been pretty good overall. I can't complain. There's a lot of bad shit on Raw right now. I don't think that's one of them. If you think it is, that's fine. I don't think it's one of them. At RJ_Marceau, Mr. Marceau's question was, who would you like to see get a WWE Icons documentary in the future? To say I'm excited for the Yokozuna, British Bulldog, and RVD ones is an understatement. Yeah, if you turned off TLC on Sunday, you probably missed the Icons thing. WWE ended up uploading the whole thing to their YouTube channel. It's like a 15-minute preview, 13 to 15-minute preview, 12 to 15-minute preview of this WWE Icon show that they're doing starting in January. The first episode drops the day of the Rumble. And by the way, when they say like, oh, right after the pay-per-view, almost all the WWE Network content drops that day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So you can watch it early. They had Broken Skull sessions with Drew McIntyre after TLC, but it was uploaded earlier in the day. So if you don't want to stay up until 2 a.m. watching Broken Skull sessions, you can always watch it earlier that day or the next day if you wanted to. Just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, I saw the preview for the show. I think they're doing 5 episodes. They're doing one on Yokozuna, Bulldog, RVD, Beth Phoenix. I don't remember who the other one was on, though. Oh, Lex Luger was the other one, which looks interesting. To me, someone said, oh, it's Dark Side of the Ring WWE style. I don't get that gist at all. Maybe with Luger and Yokozuna, maybe Bulldog, but like, I don't know if they'll go that deep into RVD. Like, Luger's still around. The Bulldog is dead. Yokozuna is dead. But Beth Phoenix, well, what negative thing is there to say about Beth Phoenix? That might be the most boring one of the 5, just because, I don't think her story is as interesting as all the other ones that they mentioned. But then again, I saw her a little preview and it looked really, really good. I didn't know that she was on a wrestling team filled with only guys in college. I had no idea. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. I can't think of any one person that comes to mind. Brian Pillman would be interesting, I think. They might be actually doing a Dark Side of the Ring on him at some point, but Brian Pillman I think would be really cool. They could bring in his son to talk, even though he's not with AEW, but he's been appearing with them so much they probably wouldn't want to bring him in for something like that. WWE, that is. But, I mean, who knows? They brought in DDP to do stuff for WWE Untold with Goldberg, and DDP is, like, almost under contract to AEW, doing, like, their production shit. So, anyway, yeah, I'm not sure. Brian Pillman would be a good one. Selfishly, I would like to see something about that like this on, like, William Regal. He's not as big of a draw as these other people, but if they're doing one on Beth Phoenix, I mean, why not Regal? Or Christian, I think, would be cool, too. Regal, Christian. I mean, I see this series, and I'm thinking the more underrated people from their respective eras, like they weren't top-tier champions all the time. Yokozuna was obviously a former world champion, as was RVD, but Bulldog wasn't. Luger wasn't. Beth Phoenix was a multi-time women's champion, but she's not Trish Stratus, so I don't know. I thought that was a good question. Like I said, Regal, Christian, I think would be cool. Like the typical people that you don't see get their own documentaries all the time. People like that. DDP might be interesting. I feel like we've gotten a lot on DDP over the years, so maybe not. Booker T potentially could be interesting. I'm trying to think of like people from that period that I think would be cool. I don't know, but Booker T, DDP, Christian, Regal are all guys that come to mind for me. Brian Pillman from over the years. But yeah, I'm also very excited for the show. The WWE documentary stuff they do is always fantastic. But this especially looks really, really good. At E138 from Twitter, their first question was, between the increased frequency of failed cash-ins and day one cash-ins, do you think WWE is getting tired of Money in the Bank holders? I don't know if they're getting tired of it, but I feel like they're running out of ideas to how to do it properly. I mean, it really shouldn't be rocket science. You should give the briefcase to someone who can benefit from it. Tease it over a couple of months, month or two, 6 months, whatever, whenever the time is right. Have them cash in. I still really like the Money in the Bank briefcase. I still think it's a great concept, even 15 years later. But honestly, it's like the Rumble. Like, the Rumble has been the exact same thing for over 30 years now. Yet it's still exciting, and the match itself is great, and you always look forward to seeing who's going to win. The same can be said for Money in the Bank. But in the last 5 years, you have like 4 of the last 5 Money in the Bank winners lose. Braun Strowman lost. Baron Corbin lost. Brock cashed in successfully, but the guy was a fucking loser. I mean, I guess 3 of the last 4 have lost. Corbin, Strowman, and now Miz. They should have never put it on Otis in the first place. It should have been AJ Styles or Aleister Black or whatever. So yeah, I just thought that was weird. But I don't know if they're getting tired of the concept, because if they were, they wouldn't do the match, I don't think. They just have a rough time figuring out, like, long-term planning. And I didn't honestly disagree with putting the briefcase on people like Corbin and people like Strowman. I thought it was cool, because I think both guys at that time deserved to be at that top-tier level. The issue is that they never really properly followed up on it. Corbin had some heat at the time, so they took the briefcase right off the fucking guy. And with Strowman, it just wasn't the right time, because they just wanted to keep the belt on Roman Reigns. So the timing is everything, but at least they put it on the right people those years. When Otis won it, I like Otis. It was a cool surprise. It went absolutely fucking nowhere. The guy has always been a comedy character. That was a complete joke. And then Miz was a great fit for the briefcase. But the problem with Miz was that by the time that he won it, the guy was such a loser that there was no way that he was going to cash in successfully. And I'm hoping this whole, I didn't actually cash in, I'm hoping it's all a bunch of bullshit. Just because I don't want to see him back with the briefcase. I thought the cash-in was perfectly done. It was in a TLC match. They had him cash in. There was a chance he could have won, because he didn't have to pin Drew. He interjected himself, and he still lost. So I liked how they did it on Sunday. Just move on from it. Miz will not cash in successfully, nor should he. He has so little credibility right now, it's just not worth it. So maybe at some point down the road. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine. Check him out on YouTube at Real Honesty with John Ritland. His question here was, what's a Christmas movie that you feel doesn't get the love that it should? That's a good question. I feel like all of the ones that I would mention or have mentioned here on the show before, you guys have either seen or have also expressed interest in, that being like Christmas Vacation. What was I going to say? Oh, The Santa Claus. Movies like that. Die Hard. I feel like those are, pretty obvious ones, and people always say they enjoy them. The Grinch is my favorite, the 2000 one with Jim Carrey. I love that movie as well. 2 I will mention, though, Office Christmas Party, which came out a couple of years ago. I feel like it never really took off the way that it should have. I never really hear people talking about The Night Before either. I saw that for the first time last year, and I thought that was also really good. That Office Christmas Party, it's kind of hard to come across a great Christmas movie in the last decade or so, but I thought those were two of them. 2 that I would willingly rewatch. They were that good. I enjoyed them that much. So I would say those 2. And also I Am Santa Claus, the Mick Foley Santa Claus documentary. And the last I checked, it's actually on Amazon Prime. It might not be anymore, but I'm pretty sure it's still on Amazon Prime Video. So you can watch it there. It's not really it's a movie, but it's not like a movie. It's just a documentary about mall Santas and how they do outside of the Christmas season and how Mick Foley kind of becomes Santa. I thought it was a tremendous documentary. Tremendous. So if you haven't seen it, go check that out as well. It's called I Am Santa Claus, and I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon Prime. On Amazon Prime Video. His second question, I know it made for a cool visual, but am I the only one who didn't like the Firefly Inferno match? To me, it was just like the Human Torch match at WCW Great American Bash 2000 with Sting and Vampiro, but even more ridiculous. No, you're not the only one. Again, I saw a lot of people who said that the match sucked. Him burning up sucked. Typical WWE. And listen, WWE does a lot of bad stuff. I didn't think that was one of them. Again, I don't blame you for feeling that way. I don't blame anyone for feeling that way. There was a lot of people who don't like that stuff, but I feel like it's more a matter of personal taste. Usually I don't like that type of stuff, but it worked with The Fiend. It worked within their feud, the story they're trying to tell. I thought it was a cool visual, like you said, and I thought it was a cool ending. And honestly, it was better than having a straight-up wrestling match between the two, which would have been absolutely fucking deplorably boring. Just unbelievably boring. So I'm glad they didn't go down that route by booking a regular match. The Firefly Inferno match, honestly, might have been the best Inferno match they've ever done. It was well executed. It was engaging. The finish was cool. Better than most, if not every other Inferno match they've ever done. Honestly, even Taker and Kane was good, but even the finish, he just got his arm lit on fire. Okay, cool. The Fiend was almost completely on fire before he got burnt to us crisp. Before that, Orton RKO'd Bray Wyatt within the Fiend costume while he was on fire. I mean, that's just pretty fucking cool. For that alone, the match was worth it. But I enjoyed it again. But if you didn't like it, I don't blame you at all. His next question: with 2 matches in AEW, what do you think of the team Bear Country? To me, they've got something, especially for big guys who can move like that. I like them too. From the 2 matches that I've seen of theirs in AEW on Dark, I've enjoyed them. I saw them again last night, as you mentioned. They can absolutely move around. And listen, I'm the first one to say they don't need more teams. They have a loaded enough tag team division. There's already enough tag teams they're not doing anything with right now. Private Party, for example, they just won their first match on TV for the first time in, fucking 6 months? I mean, come on. I like Private Party, but, they need more teams, or not need more teams, but they need more focus on some of these teams. They don't need more teams, is what I was trying to say. That said, though, Bear Country has a lot of potential, and if they sign them, I would not complain. They signed Top Flight. They're a good team, too, a good team on the rise. And the Acclaimed as well. Again, I'm not sitting here lobbying for more teams to be signed, but those are 3 great pickups right there. They've already signed Top Flight. They've already signed the Acclaimed. I've become a big fan of theirs in the last month. Bear Country, as far as I know, is not signed. But I think they should be. For, like you said, 2 guys that can really move around. I think they're worth having around. Are there any big teams in AEW that are like that? I'm trying to think. They have a lot of smaller guys and a lot of teams that can do the flippity-doo-dahs. I can't think of many teams that they have are like 2 big guys. I don't think they have any. So honestly, I think Bear Country could really stand out. I don't really care for the bear costumes and shit, but them in the ring, I think are great. They're just terrific. So if they sign them, you will not hear a complaint out of me. At Eric Beeston from Twitter, who do you think is God's gift to wrestling, and why is it Roman Reigns? I completely agree. Roman Reigns, I think, has been the best thing to come out of WWE in 2020. To me, the superstar of the year has been Drew McIntyre, just because he was around longer, dominated more of the year, really came into his own as a main event player. But in terms of what surprised me the most about 2020 was the fact that they turned Roman Reigns heel and then have had him go on this great tear. Like, turning him heel was a WWE decision. What came after that, obviously, is partly due to WWE and how they book him, but the ball was then given to Roman. How will you handle this? Will he flop as a heel? Will he do well as a heel? What's going to happen here? Will he fall flat? He did not. In fact, it was the exact opposite. He took that ball and fucking ran off with it. He darted off with it. And he's had just amazing matches since then. Great storytelling with Jey Uso and Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan, people like that, Paul Heyman. It's just been awesome. It's been amazing. So, yeah, Roman Reigns, I think, has been the best thing to come out of 2020 for WWE. McIntyre, too. Again, just for the push that he got, and he's a fresh face in the main event scene. I've been loving McIntyre's work in 2020. A lot of great matches for McIntyre. But I think I always expected him to do well. Roman Reigns, I never expected him to actually turn them heel. I never expected WWE to turn him heel. And then they did, and he knocked it out of the park. And Reigns is just far and away, I like SmackDown, but Roman Reigns is far and away the best part about that show. And really anything in WWE right now. It's not even close. At Iwagu91, and by the way, I never thought I would say that. And I like Roman Reigns. I never thought I would say that just because he's been booked so badly over the last 5 or so years. I never thought I would say that, but alas, here we are. At Iwagu91 from Twitter, based on the first Raw of next year bringing back the Legends, is it clear that WWE still haven't figured out how to resolve the issues with the ratings? Obviously not. Obviously not. Listen, I saw the commercial. I'm thinking, okay, that's cool. We're seeing X, Y, and Z. It is literally, I mean, I can't even say this is the case anymore, but anytime they would do this shit in the last 5 years, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. It will solve absolutely nothing. That doesn't even guarantee that the ratings will go up by trotting these people out there. It does not guarantee anything. It guarantees absolutely nothing. I mean, you look at the ratings. I mean, it's the ratings. They scored their lowest Raw rating ever last week. I don't know what the Raw ratings were this week. I didn't look. Maybe they improved a little bit. But trotting these legends out there and Tori Wilson and The Big Show is not going to make a lick of a difference. It might go up a couple 100,000 viewers by the next week, unless they were to do some huge angle on that show that gets people talking and tuning in for the following week. I don't think the ratings are going to change at all. They do this all the fucking time. They did it with Raw Reunion last year. They did it with They did a Raw reunion show 5 years ago, too. It was like a Raw in Texas. And they had Stone Cold Steve Austin on the show, The Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and maybe Ric Flair. The rating, I don't even know if it moved at all. Like, you just jam-packed the show with all these legends. And that was 5 years ago. They had twice the audience that they do right now. I mean, they have literally eroded half of their audience in the span of like 3 to 5 years. That is so fucking bad. That is terrible. So, bringing the legends back for one night will not make a lick of a difference. It's cool for me as a fan, but other than that, it's just, this is not the answer. This is not the way. You know how they say in The Mandalorian, this is the way? This is not the way. This is just attempting to ignore the issue and thinking it'll all go away by bringing these people back. I mean, why not promote a big match for that show? I mean, I guess they still could, but bringing back Hulk Hogan will not fucking change anything. And I love these people, but it won't change anything. Why not do a big match on that show? Why not promote the debut of a new superstar on that show? Will the ratings go up that much? No, probably not, but it's at least building towards the future. These people are clearly more of the past than they are the future. Next question, also from @Iwagu91. Did you know that Phoenix will receive his AEW World Title shot on December 30th, which will be his 30th birthday? I did not know that. I think that's pretty cool. He said, what are your thoughts on Roman Reigns' current heel turn? I just said it, but, I mean, the guy has been absolutely on fire since he came back and turned heel back in August. I mean, the best part of WWE in 2020. And there's been a lot of good stuff, but Roman Reigns has been the biggest revelation, I think, for everyone in terms of how he went from what he was. I mean, he literally started the year doing fucking dog food matches with Baron Corbin, ending the year as the Universal Champion, having a number of great matches in his back pocket with Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, and McIntyre, and just cutting the best promos of his career right now. The dynamic with Paul Heyman is great. Definitely different from the Brock dynamic. I love it. I absolutely love it. But, yeah, the Roman Reigns heel turn so far has been a massive success. What will Jimmy Uso do once he returns from injury next year? I mean, obviously reunite with Jey, I would assume. I was thinking about this a few days ago, but I think a heel Usos versus babyface Profits match at Mania, let's say for the SmackDown tag titles, if they can keep the belts and the Profits for that long, I think would be great. Maybe they put the belts on the Usos before then, and they can do the Usos versus, like, Rey and Dominic. You could do that, too. Maybe make it a three-way. I don't want to see the Profits left off of Mania. They've had a great last year. They were the best team of WWE by far in 2020. It's not even close. Like, even over the New Day. And the New Day weren't even all that active in 2020. But, yeah, I mean, they got to be in the WrestleMania match. So maybe it's Profits, Usos, and then Rey and Dominic. A triple threat. Or just Profits and Usos straight up, I think would be a lot of fun. The next question comes from @Scarlet1. We'll finish off with their questions here, and also one from @Misdemeanor6, and I got to get going soon, which is why I'll rush through these next few questions. But best non-WWE/AEW matches of 2020. So I'm sorry, they asked this question last week. Did Scarlet won? And I forgot to put in the non-part, and even if I said it, I was thinking best WWE/AEW matches of the year. I totally forgot about that. So I apologize, but we'll answer it here. The thing with the best matches outside of those two companies, the NWA didn't really run many shows this year. They had their Hard Times pay-per-view in January. Maybe there was a great match they had on TV that I'm just not remembering right now. I know they had like Ricky Morton and Nick Aldis that impressed me. There's probably more matches from the show itself that I enjoyed. I just can't think of them right now. They didn't really run many shows. Ring of Honor didn't really run many shows. And Impact didn't really have, as far as I can remember, many like amazing matches. I enjoyed Tessa and Sami Callihan from the January Hard to Kill pay-per-view. I thought Purrazzo and Jordan Grace might be the best non-WWE AEW match that I saw in 2020. The Iron Woman match for the Knockouts title on Impact a couple of months ago over the summer, I thought was fantastic. So probably that one. Obviously, any match from New Japan would be here, but I didn't watch New Japan. I don't really watch New Japan. That would be the obvious answer. You know, Takahashi and Will Ospreay I heard was great from Wrestle Kingdom. I heard Okada and Naito was amazing. Wasn't that from Wrestle Kingdom too? I don't remember. But yeah, that would be... Yeah, I think that wasn't that the main event of Night 2 or whatever from Wrestle Kingdom? Maybe not. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, those would be at the top of the list, but I didn't see those matches, so I can't really say that. So as far as matches that I saw from the other companies that aren't WWE and AEW, the Purrazzo Grace match, Callahan Blanchard probably. From Ring of Honor, again, they stopped running shows in April and they didn't start back up again until September. So a big chunk of the year they weren't even there for. They weren't even around for. Or they actually stopped in March, not even April. They stopped right when the pandemic started. And I don't remember many amazing matches they had in the first few months of the year. But I will say the finals of the Ring of Honor Pure Championship Tournament from a couple of weeks ago on Ring of Honor TV between Jonathan Gresham and Tracy Williams was really good. The entire Ring of Honor show, the weekly show, is so much better now than it used to be. It's one of my favorite shows of the week. It's just great every single week. The matches are good. The storyline progression is on point. The sit-down interviews are great. They do a great job every time. So that was a great match. But other than that, I can't really think of many. I don't watch New Japan. NWA barely ran any shows. Same with Ring of Honor. And Impact, they've been running all year. They just haven't had many matches that I thought, oh man, that was absolutely incredible. That I can remember anyway. I'm trying to think. The Motor City Machine Guns in the North have had a couple of good matches. I can't think of many. Chris Bay and Rich Swann had a very good match at the Final Resolution special a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, probably Purrazzo and Grace from that episode of Impact over the summer for the Knockouts title, the Iron Woman match. Best and worst of TLC, they ask. McIntyre and AJ Styles and Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens were easily the best matches on the show. I enjoyed the Inferno match, though I won't put that in the best because a lot of people seem to hate it. I enjoyed it for what it was. But I mean, maybe not a lot of people, but I feel like the reaction was mixed. Some people liked it, some people hated it. Maybe some people were indifferent towards it, I don't know. But yeah, the two TLC matches to me were the best matches from the show. There really wasn't a worst part of TLC because it was a very good show overall, I thought. The tag team title match was good. Sasha and Carmella was actually a pretty good match. The only match I didn't really care for, honestly, was not the Inferno match, but the WWE Women's Tag Team title match. Charlotte came back, which was cool. I like that. The match I didn't really care too much about. Flair and Asuka versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I don't know. The match itself was fine. I just don't really care about Charlotte and Asuka being tag team champions. I'm so done with the dual title belt thing. The dose straps and the double champion shit. I don't really care about that at this point. They didn't need to win the tag titles. I don't even care about Nia Jax and Shayna as the tag team champions. The belts are just pointless in general. Let's face it. But I don't know, it just feels like one giant vehicle to build towards Asuka and Flair again. So I just don't really care about that. But overall, it was a very good show. Best and worst of the Wednesday Night Wars from last week. I thought NXT was a great show. Dynamite was kind of dull. But the best from NXT, I love Ciampa and Tyler Rust. The opening tag match was good. Rhea Ripley and Toni Storm was very good. And I thought Kyle O'Reilly and Pete Dunne had a killer match on NXT as well. From Dynamite, I thought the Acclaimed and SCU was the best part of the show. I enjoyed that the most. That was the match I was looking forward to the most anyway. Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela was good. It was exactly what it needed to be. Not a great match, but it was exactly what it needed to be. Aside from the dumb, I don't care about Don Callis talking during the matches, cutting a promo during the matches. I think that's annoying. But other than that, I enjoyed it for what it was. The worst part of the shows, the only match from NXT I didn't really care too much about was Shotzi Blackheart and Indy Hartwell. I think both of them have a lot of potential. It wasn't really much of a match. The DQ finish was awkward. The post-match stuff was weird. It furthered the feud between Candice and Shotzi, but the match itself was kind of an afterthought. From Dynamite, the women's tag team match, I just didn't really care about at all. I don't really give a shit about Big Swole. I like Dee, and Ivelisse and Diamante, but the match was just kind of there. The 12-man tag team match was a complete mess, too. I mean, they made it work, but it was also just a complete mess. So, that's that. What is the meaning of Christmas was their final question here. I mean, it's really whatever you want it to mean. I can't really answer that any better than any Hallmark movie where they would probably have a better idea about that than I do. But it's exactly, or really rather anything you would want it to mean, whether it be gifts or giving or family and friends or whatever the hell. Christmas spirit. I'm not really sure. The sense of joy they don't feel any other time of the year, which hopefully you do. And not just during the month of December, but I can't really answer that. Just go watch any Hallmark movie, and they'll answer that way better than I could. Final question comes from Matt Misdemeanor 6 from Twitter. Do you think that wrestling companies should use injured wrestlers for promos and storyline videos when they are injured. Brody Lee, for example, since he is the leader of a faction. Yeah, I definitely do. And it depends on the character. I think with Brody, he could have easily appeared while he was hurt. They definitely could have. But I feel like they're doing it now for a reason, because they want to tell the story that the Dark Order has attempted to recruit Adam Page in Brody's absence. So then it'll lead to Brody and Adam Page when Brody comes back. So not every person still has to be on TV, because there is something to be said for having that big pop, that big reaction when someone comes back from an injury. Like Britt Baker, for example, did a great job of that. A terrific job of that earlier this year. She was hurt back in May. She was out injured. I mean, yeah, she wrestled it all out, but like it was that cinematic match. She was really out hurt for like 5 months, 4 to 5 months, maybe 3 to 4 months. She was out for a while, but she was always on the show. You would never know that she was hurt. I mean, yeah, she had a cast on her foot, but she was constantly on Dynamite in very entertaining segments and filming videos and doing stuff like that. So that is a great example of someone who's hurt that can continue to appear on the show in a different role. Again, not everyone can do that, but like Randy Orton did that back in the day, and that was how he got over as a heel. In 2002, I think he separated his shoulder or did something where he got hurt. And he was doing those RNN videos. Remember those? Like it was like obviously a pun on CNN, but he would kind of cut into the shows with breaking news updates. Those were amazing for the time, and for as corny and as dumb as they were, they helped showcase Randy's personality. So yeah, for sure, I would like to see more injured wrestlers make more appearances and depending on the obviously nature of the injury. If it's bad enough where they can't even appear, then that's one thing. But depending on who it is, I would hope they can continue to appear in other ways. Even if they are hurt and they can't appear and stuff like that. So, yeah, definitely. I think Britt Baker really was a great example of that back earlier this year. I think she really got over even more than she was previously before she got hurt with the stuff that she was doing in the cast, in the role, like instead of ROLE, it was ROLL model car, the golf car. I thought that was great stuff. And that's going to do it, guys, here today for episode 369 of #AskGSM for December 23rd, 2020. If you want to send in a question to the show for next week, be sure to do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a question on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And leave your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content, including hitting that bell button for more, to be notified every time a new video goes up. So we got a stacked next couple days. WrestleRant radio excerpts are up tomorrow for a very special Christmas Eve edition of the show. My Broken Skull Sessions review with Drew McIntyre went up earlier today, so check that out. We have a potential Star Wars Holiday Christmas special review with the Doc, Chris Mueller, and myself going up on Friday. Maybe on Christmas Day itself, we're not sure. We haven't recorded it yet, so hopefully today or tomorrow. Saturday, obviously, Talking SmackDown review as always. Sunday, I'm going to try to review the Slammy Awards. Those went on today. I haven't seen them yet. And it is a network special, so I'll probably, watch those, review the winners and whatever. That's coming up on Sunday. So have a great one, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week, your holiday week. Christmas is only 2 days away, so get pumped, get amped, get excited, be holly and jolly. Enjoy the rest of your holiday season. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.